WW7TZE. WW7KC.
Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll see the exact frequencies we transmit on, a little bit of background on the club, and also you'll note there's a link on our front page that takes you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for this net. Again, this is Dave, KD7CYM. I'll pause in case anybody has an emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Hearing none, good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Signed in via video is Lee, N7KC, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else who would like to sign into the net? Hearing none, let's go to Port Angeles to Lee, N7KC.
Okay. What I have to do is to turn my audio down here because I think it's coming through James. So good evening to you guys. N7KC Lee in Port Angeles. Good to see you. Don't see. Oh, there's Andrea's sign in there. So I know Jim is associated with that rectangle. Say, we have somebody on Echolink. He's in Missouri. His name is Jeff, KB7. Was it GZE? I can't see it right now because I'm transmitting. But anyway, so we do have somebody that's connected to the Echolink side of things here for the net. So you might just check, Dave, and see who that is and what they're up to tonight. So. Pretty nice day here in Port Angeles. We haven't had any rain in a couple of days. It looks like we're going to have a whole week of sunny weather here, according to the National Weather Service. So that's not a good thing to have this time of year. Well, there's Jim now. Shut up. Okay. Anyway, that's not a good. As you were, Jim. Anyway.
Connected. WU7N. WU7N. Disconnected.
I'll be getting a copious amount of rain. I'm going to put Christmas lights up, I think, tomorrow, and so forth. And this is also the weekend of the CQ Worldwide DX Contest, the CW effort, and the bands are hopping right now. But I'm not joined in yet. I'm not sure I'm going to. I don't have anything else this round, so Dave, it's back to you. This is N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Go ahead.
Casey, let's wake up Richard, K7ATS in Kent.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. We had a very successful Thanksgiving dinner, not on Thanksgiving, but on Friday. My daughter had another Thanksgiving dinner to go to on Thanksgiving, and so we delayed ours so that we could have the whole family as far as our kids are concerned, and grandchildren, and that sort of thing. So we had 9 people, and we devoured our caveman kitchen smoked turkey, and it was very successful, and so successful actually, I still have half a turkey left in my refrigerator after everyone's gone. So I am so happy that they enjoyed it, and we even sent some home with people. It was this is probably one of the biggest turkeys we've ever had. I don't know, I'm not sure. I think it started out to be at, 18 or 19 pounds, and then by the time it's all smoked, it weighed in like 14 and a half pounds, and so that's what you pay for, is what it actually weighs after it's smoked. So that was really great. It was just loads of fun, a lot of laughing. We played a game that I hadn't seen in a really long time called Gestures. It's kind of where it'd be helpful if you'd been to mime school, let me put it that way. So, and God, what a beautiful day today. Holy moly, I went for, I'm known for getting on the treadmill to stay healthy, but this was beyond treadmill weather today. This was the real deal, and so I covered 2.5 miles, and I just enjoyed every bit of it, watching people put up their Christmas decorations as I'm walking through the neighborhood. That was cool, and admire the ones that Debbie, the YL, has put up in the snowmen, and so I'm sitting in the garage sunbathing, and I hear these little kids, oh, look at the snowman, and I was just so happy that we were able to give some kids some Christmas pleasure. So anyway, so that's where I'm coming from right now, and I'm a little worried about the lack of rain. I'm with you, Lee. It's not supposed to be this nice, even though I really loved it today, and probably in the days to come I'm really going to love it. I mean, it's just a pleasure to walk around in the yard and, and sit down. I mean, what can I say? It's beautiful. K7ATS, back to net control.
K7ATS, thanks with that. Well, let's go down to Jim, N7QO in Covington Land.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. I don't recognize that call sign on Echo Link either. Jim, the inside of the repeater is just fine, I guess. Let's see here. Yeah, nice day, but cold. I was planning to do a little more stuff outside today, but it was just too darn cold for me. I did happen to notice there seems to be fewer Christmas decorations than usual this year, but having said that, I think people are still here celebrating Thanksgiving. I noticed looking across the runway, there were a couple people like giving rides to family members or something who I think were here for Thanksgiving. To that end, my wife and I had a nice quiet Thanksgiving together here. I don't know, not much to say about that. Would have been nice if we got a turkey from Caveman, but we did not do that. Got some turkey, but big thing is my wife has celiac disease, so she tried to make some things gluten-free, and since we were by ourselves, she decided to maybe be a little more aggressive with the gluten-free menus than normal this year. So not real good. Some of the stuff was just it was gluten-free, but it just didn't taste like what it used to. Sorry. So next year, I don't know. I guess there's always DoorDash or something. But or I could do like I'm at work and have a pizza. Well, actually, pizza is usually my standby when I'm working for Christmas. Generally, for Thanksgiving, I'd wind up with a turkey sub sandwich from either Subway or Quiznos. Those places seem to be pretty popular on my way to the airport. Stuff that in my bag, and then the next day when I get to wherever we're going, yeah, okay. If I'm lucky, there will be something that resembles cranberries on there too. But so I'm not terribly particular, but yeah, DoorDash. What else? Oh, perfectly clear over here right now. Looks like an absolutely beautiful night. I'm showing 31 degrees, absolutely no wind at all, nice and still. Nice night to, I don't know, go for an airplane ride or something. Be perfectly smooth out there. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
Thank you, Mr. Repeater. Let's go to James, WW7N.
Well, thanks, Dave. It's good to see somebody else on the net. KB7 Golf Zebra Echo. Maybe he could go next. I don't know, whenever you wanted to jump in. It'd be great to hear all about him and where he's from and what his interests are. Well, anyway, yeah, the Thanksgiving feast food is overwhelming my refrigerator, and so I need the new invention you guys have probably all heard about. The microwave, heats up the leftovers, but now they have a macrowave which sucks all the heat out of it, instantly freezes it, and then you can just put it in the freezer. So that's I'm going to get one of those macrowaves. But yeah, I had a surprise call. Was it Thanksgiving night or last night? I don't remember, but someone said, hey, you want all this extra turkey? And I said, sure, and they gave me quite a bit. So that's great. I'm going to have to freeze it, though. I don't think I can eat it all fast enough. Plus, I have an entire chicken and also some additional food that I ate today. So that's great. That's really wonderful to be in such a time of plenty here. Up Christmas lights tomorrow too, I think, but the scary light is actually one in my indoor foyer that has burned out, and I looked at that and I went, how did I replace that the last time? It's up in the high end of my vaulted ceiling. I definitely will need a ladder, but I was even my max reach ladder, I don't know if I set up as an A-frame or I put it up against the wall. How do I get up there? But I got a 17-watt LED light to replace the pigtail mercury one, which lasted for forever in there, the fluorescent in there. So I hope the made in China 17-watt light lasts forever too, because there's plenty of dust on there. That little pigtail light lasted a long time. If any of you need any of those, let me know. I cleaned out a hoarder house and got an entire box of those things. Those are the ones that you turn them on, about 30 seconds later they come up to full brightness. Real estate agents absolutely hate them. You can just wave one at a real estate agent and they'll just like turn bright red and start screaming because they don't light up the house, the room. People, when they look at a house, they flip the light on, they look for 5 seconds, they flip the light off, so they hate those lights. But I've got quite a few of them. lack of rain, yeah, I just cracked my window here, my sliding glass window, and have a little light plastic sealer thing, and I run a piece of coax out the back, and I can actually feel the cold coming into this room from that little tiny crack. That's how cold it is here in Northeast Bellevue out there. But yeah, it's supposed to be cold and clear, which for November it should be warm and wet. We're not supposed to get cold and clear until January, but so it'll be interesting to see what January's like. If you're going to go gluten-free, you might as well go all the way. Make it fat-free, salt-free, and sugar-free, and that way you get complete flavor-free food. And that's you know, what you want to go for if you're going for all that free stuff. I'm kind of surprised they don't give it away for free just to make it just a perfect round out. But actually, if you go to like PCC Whole Foods or something, you get a gluten-free cookie. I bought one of those once. Yeah, they got me once. I don't know who would ever buy one because they're more expensive and they have all the flavor scientifically removed, maybe in the flavor microwave, but they somehow managed to suck most of the flavor out of it. I guess maybe it's the idea of the cookie, the texture of the cookie or something is still there. Well, with that, hope we hear from Jeff. This is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Go ahead, Dave.
And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. That's on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, here in Lake City, I got 36 degrees, and it's clear out there, so I mean it's going to get chilly tonight here. So, not a cloud in the sky. Well, I was able to get together with family for Turkey Day with all the trimmings, so that was kind of nice to get out of the way. I did get up to Costco today. They had some smoked turkeys that were not in bubble wrap, but I guess was they could seal them up in a clear plastic substance that takes all the air out of the turkeys that are smoked. Anyway, I thought after Thanksgiving they might be half price, but they hadn't brought down the price today, and they had quite a bit left over, but they were going for originally for around $40 for a smoked turkey, which I thought was a little outrageous. I remember the last time I got a processed smoked turkey, 15 pounds, it was under $20. So anyway, interesting to see what happens. Well, computer problems, or issues I should say. We never have problems. I went to print a Microsoft Word document, and out came blank pages from my printer. And I was wondering what in the world was going on. So then I went to my email, and it printed out my email. I said, that's good. So I know that I've got a connection, shaking hands between my computer and the printer. Then I went back to the Word document, tried to print, got blank pages again. Went back to the email, couldn't print that again. Came out with blank pages. So I did the thing that everybody's told never to do. I found the manual for the printer, called it up, and went through all of the phases. And it indicated I probably have clogged printing heads. And so there was a software project, a software solution to it. And so it talked to the computer, and it took about 5 minutes. You could hear the heads going back, or something going back and forth inside the printer going, and then said, okay. So then I tried printing the document, and it was like, oh my, it printed. So I robbed the Geek Squad a chance of coming to my property to fix my problems. But anyway, one winner anyway. So that's about it. And so we'll send it back up to the top to Lee, N7KC.
Okay, very good, Dave. N7KC, Lee here in Port Angeles. Well, if it printed your emails, but not your Word document, how could it be clogged printer head? You know, if it was working on one, I don't get it. Well, you know, my big project here in the last couple of weeks is that we have 6 fans that have the shaded pull motors in them, 6mm shaft and that sort of thing. And what I did was I got some bearings from Bearings Inc. after doing a CAD drawing, and I thought I would just show here, see if I can do this. I've never tried to run the CAD program. Oh yeah, I can do it just fine. Okay, well, let me show you the latest motor. Is this one right here? Here's the armature. Here's the stator here, and this is my bearing replacement right here. The purple stuff are the 6 millimeter wide, 17 millimeter in diameter ball bearings that are sealed, permanently lubricated, and this is what I have to machine to get them in there. So this is the existing cup that had the centered bronze bearing in it that gets oiled by an oily wick that's inside the thing. So anyway, I took that all apart. So I'll go in on the lathe and basically enlarge this cavity here in such a fashion that that bearing presses in with about a 0.5 interference fit. And I'm on the last one. The bearings were supposed to be here today, but I got a notice saying they won't be here till Tuesday. So I bought 10 and I ran out, and I had to buy another 10 to do one motor. And then this is a work holder that holds these yokes here so I can machine them on the lathe type of thing. So I don't know whether that has any interest or not, but this is this is AutoCAD. This is a pretty nice program. If any of you are not familiar with it, it's a lot of fun to use. I get a big kick out of it. I've been doing it for a long time. Okay, that's it from here. I'm just about out of time. Back to you, Dave. In 7KC, Liam Port Angeles. Go ahead.
7KCN, it's IT time again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Lee, for showing your AutoCAD display. I love AutoCAD, quite honestly. It gave me a lot of control over my work environment when I finally learned how to do it. Prior to my taking AutoCAD class at Renton Voc Tech, prior to that, I was so dependent on others who knew how to do the program. I knew more about how to get work done. They didn't. So it was always a screwed up process of elimination or corrections, and oh my God. And so finally, when I had the opportunity to take a class, I took it right away. Or I mean, the opportunity was always there, but I think my frustration peaked, and so I just went to night school, after work. And interesting enough, my boss, the owner of the company, said, "Well, we'll pay the tuition for you." And I said, "No, I want to do this myself." So secretly in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to owe this new experience to anybody. This is all mine. And boy, I never looked back. I don't know. I mean, Lee, as you know, you draw things to perfect scale. I mean, there's just, so for example, in fact, during my AutoCAD class, I was in the middle of the first City of Bellevue pedestrian bridge connecting, Bellevue Square and the new Lincoln Square. And Bellevue had never had these before. Not that that was anything, but and so I had all the metal and glass trim, and bridges like that generally have have a radius or a camber tune or whatever you want to call it, and so if you always have to wait to field verify these things, as far as parallelograms go, that you might need to make, it was beautiful to have this information in advance, just by having the architecturals in AutoCAD form, that I could just you just point at the line and it would tell you what the radius is. I mean, it's just that accurate. And you can go to the bank on this stuff, or at least you won't make a mistake, someone will, and they'll get caught. So no, it's I do whenever I get an opportunity. I use the program at home for measuring, for landscaping, floor plan in a house. Just goes on and on and on. Yeah, no, I shock people when I know the exact square footage to the 100th. It blows their mind. We had such a fun time last night. I brought up on the screen in the living room where everybody was, including the pets, and it was the Namimbia streaming desert water hole in the desert streaming live, and it was at night, but evidently the camera uses infrared, so the animals' eyes are glowing. But when this one big cow with 3-foot-long horns got in front of the screen, our little rat terrier just stood up on its hind legs. We've never seen that before, and just started barking crazily at it. It was just really fun. So, golly. And on top of that, after everyone went to bed, me and my son stayed up late and watched YouTube cuts of Rodney Dangerfield, what a laugh, and Don Rickles. I mean, it laughed till I hurt. And the weird thing about Don Rickles, he is the one guy that could get away with racial jokes, and he never got called out for it that I can think of. He just had the finesse of being able to pull it off and make everyone laugh, no matter what. It was just, I thought he was just very, very interesting. And then last but not least, it was really a miracle that the Huskies were able to beat the Cougars. They should have done a lot better than they did, but at least they did it. And for being one of the number 4 ranked team in the country, I thought, well, I'll have to admit, WSU always, no matter what, they always try to rise to the occasion, and they sure did today. So, anyway, thanks a lot, you guys. It was sure a lot of fun sharing with you. K7ITX, back to net control.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Jim, extra food on hand. Yeah. It's definitely a bonus when something unexpected shows up like that, especially around the holidays. That's good. I kind of sort of have that problem myself here. Ever since we began shopping at Costco, it's like we need to buy another freezer or refrigerator or something. But it could be worse. Not having food is definitely worse, so that's really good. Dave, with the printer, well, at least you didn't need to call someone for help. Don't know what happened there, but that's glad you got it going, and glad you didn't need to call anyone for help. sometimes that turns into a nightmare. I won't tell you how I know that. Lee, AutoCAD, that looks pretty cool. Yeah, that's impressive. When I was working for a living, as opposed to flying for a living, a lot of what I did, I just had a pad of graph paper, and I would freehand changes, and then send it off to someone, and someone else would put it on AutoCAD, and then I just sign off on it if I liked it. Those of you who have some experience with that, that's really good. It's reassuring to hear that it's not all that complicated. I don't know. It's one of those things I'll probably never use, but oh well. And someone was asking if it's free or if it's not. I don't think that's freeware. I think that's a for purchase program, but I'm not sure. Or maybe there are a couple of different versions, like some of the software that's out there. Dick, your dog stood right up. Man, I'll bet Pip was terrified at that bull. Maybe Pippa thought that was a dog with devil's horns or something. I don't know. Who knows what our pets are thinking? But sounds like Pippa was terrified to me. Oh man. And Apple Cup. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I saw that. It's like I thought the game was going to be a not at all a close game. I kind of liked it because it was going back and forth, but I was really surprised. I was expecting the dogs to do a whole lot better than they did, and I was surprised that they came close to losing, but anyway, I enjoyed it. Hope we get to have Apple Cups again in the future, in spite of someone switching leagues here. But back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
Disconnected.
In 7QO, it's time for an ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Let's go to James, WU7N.
Okay, let's invite Jeff, KB7 Golf Zebra Echo, into the conversation. I'm not sure if he's there or if he's just on Echolink, but Jeff, go ahead. Well, maybe he's just logged on. This is James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. Jeff, if you're listening, you're certainly welcome to join the conversation. Just let us know you're out there. Well, I got the answer to my own question. AutoCAD apparently is something you have to pay for, and I just hate it when you get exactly what you pay for, because I've only heard nothing but good things about it. So you knew it wasn't going to be a freebie, although they apparently have a 30-day free trial. So if you guys get some odd email, saying 30-day free trial for Richard, and then 30-day free trial for Dave, and then 30-day free trial for Jim, and then 30 free trial for Lee, just ignore those. It's fine. Don't worry about those. Anyway, yeah, I used probably a very similar program years ago, and it's just amazing what you can do with that. And it sure does facilitate communication. I recall years ago at LTV trying to explain something to somebody, and they draft it, and you go, no, that's not quite right. But the best story I ever heard, late 70s, early 80s, there was a master machinist there, and this was before computer numerically controlled machines ruled the day. And so, just for fun, a couple of interns got together and they wrote up this three-dimensional drawing, And the problem was, though, it had its usual multi-set. So when you machined all these parts together, you couldn't assemble it. It was not possible. The parts would not fit together. So they gave it to this guy, and he looked at it for a minute, and first he went, and then he just smiled, said, "I'll get back to you." And so then what he did is he supplied them all those parts assembled, but you couldn't take it apart to see how he did it. So I thought that's the true mark of a master machinist. They gave him something that couldn't be assembled, and he gave it back to them, and you couldn't disassemble it. Anyway, let's see. What else is going on here? Not too much. I think I told you guys before I was given an Adreno kit. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's called an Uno, a microcontroller development very similar to Raspberry Pi. I guess it was developed by a company in Italy. And I've got this entire kit, and it's kind of interesting. It's learning about it. It's a microcontroller, and they don't call the programs. Of course, they call them something different. They call them sketches. I guess you're like Leonardo da Vinci crafting this thing on the microcontroller. Maybe that's why they call them sketches. I'm not sure. But so it's kind of interesting to learn about that, and also learn about the differences between a microcontroller and something like a Raspberry Pi. I think as time marches forward, there'll be less and less difference. But one person put it this way. He said, if you want a little robot that's going to have a camera and runs around your living room and you just want to watch on your computer, then you get something like this little Uno. If you want to free stream it live all over the internet, then you get a Raspberry Pi. So I guess that's the best two-sentence explanation I can get for the difference between a microcontroller and these little tiny microcomputers that are pretty much, for $100, you get about the same kind of computing power you got about 20 years ago in the palm of your hand. That's pretty good. For me, WW7ATS in Northeast Bellevue. Let me turn it back to our net control off in Seattle there. Dave, go ahead.
W7N. This is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. Oh my, I got to say, I didn't have Raspberry Pi, but I had apple pie for Thanksgiving, so anyway, for clarity. And back to my computer problem, I was saying, maybe I made it a little confusing. I went to print a Word document, got blank sheets. Then I went to email and tried to print email, and I got a print. Then I went back to Microsoft Word again and say, I'm going to print this, and got a blank sheet again. Then I went to the email again and went to print that, and I got a blank sheet. So that's when I ran the diagnostics check to see that Word was talking to the computer, and so there was a connection there. Then I followed up with that with going to the instruction manual to clean the heads. Once I completed that, I tried the Word document, and that printed. I was happy with that, and then I went back to the email and I printed that. But I might add, I hadn't used the printer in a couple of months, so that's probably what gummed up the heads. So, live and learn. And talking about television programs that you laugh at, but you wonder how in the world they ever got there. I found this All in the Family program with Archie Bunker, and oh my gosh, it's just unbelievable, the verbiage that they come out with on that anti-everything. Just unbelievable in its day, and it's still funny today. You have to look at it tongue-in-cheek, but in the 80s, oh man, I don't know how they got by the censors to get that program on the air. Well, that's about what I've got to say here in Lake City, so let's go back up to Lee in 7KC.
Okay, Lee here in 7KC in Port Angeles. Yeah, that's Arduino. And it turns out that Jamico Electronics has got a sale, 20% off of a nice Arduino at the moment. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, micro computer controlling, why hustle over there. At it, and they have all kinds of modules that work with their Arduino. So you don't have to do an awful lot of stuff to have a lot of fun, and it's very affordable. as that sort of thing goes. Well, you know, years ago, I got started doing CAD with a program called Generic CAD, which was a little software company over in, I think it was Redmond, was producing Generic CAD, and I learned to run that really, really well. And AutoCAD was around, but it's super expensive. I mean, really expensive. And so everything was status quo for a while, and then, Generic CAD was putting a dent into AutoCAD sales. AutoCAD bought them. And I thought, oh dear, this isn't good. So what they did was they let it go for about a year, something like that. Generic CAD, they owned it, but they didn't do anything to it. And then what they did was they announced that it would be discontinued. But they sweetened the pie because you could get into the AutoCAD program for a pittance at that time. So I did, and I actually went the AutoCAD Lite route because the big $2,000 or $3,000 package just had way more than I could do. So I did the AutoCAD Lite, and I continue today. I'm using AutoCAD Lite 2014. I actually bought the program, and I have it, and they want it back because it's all subscription today. They've offered me all kinds of deals on its subscription, and I refuse. So I've got AutoCAD 2014 Lite running here on my computer. Now, every time I start it up, it goes to the mothership to check for the validity of the license, but they continue to let me use it, and so forth. So if I had to pay a subscription fee to use it, I don't use it that much, and I'm not making any money with it, so it's not the kind of thing I want to do. So I'm very happy with what I have, and I hope it stays that way. So anyway, but it is a fun program. It is tremendously capable. Machine is used Mastercam. It's a computer-aided machining, Mastercam, and it's a big CAD program on the front end of it. And you do something in Mastercam, it can go straight to the NC machine and produce it. It's outrageous. My nephew, Paula's nephew, is a journeyman machinist now. I helped him get started, and he's a good Mastercam guy, and he's on multi-axis machines producing outrageous stuff. It's just outrageous. Anyway, back to you, Dave, in 7KC, Lee in Port Angeles.
7KC, thanks for that. Get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Yeah, Lee, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I have the professional version of AutoCAD that costs a couple $1,000s, but I didn't buy it. In fact, that's the company bought it for me. And so to this day, now it's on a CD, so for me to load it in the new computers, I have to hook up a CD drive via a USB port, and that seems to do the trick. But yeah, no way I would have bought it myself. No way. The trouble though is, I mean, I have it, but I think it's the 2004 version. And so whenever I'm working with a professional AutoCAD person, I always ask him, well, could you please, copy the file in the older version? Well, he said, oh, a lot of stuff won't work. I go, I don't care. The stuff that I care about will work. So, yeah, it's, and the other thing is, I'm frequently, when I'm using the program, it's always asking me to contact the mothership for an upgrade, and I always say no every single time, because it ain't going to be just, an upgrade. It's going to be a slap on the you-know-what, and I may never get to use the program again. So I keep functioning incognito with my professional version, whether we bought it or not, because you're right about they want me to be a subscriber, and for this little amount of time that I use it now, especially since I'm retired, it just wouldn't make any sense. And so anyway, so gee whiz, that brought back some good and bad memories, actually. I mean, when I think about trying to build things backwards, in my business, I didn't do ceilings very often, but ceilings in plan are actually a mirror image of reality, and where all other things being equal architecturally, when you see drawings, it's not a mirror image, it's the real deal. And so a couple times I forgot I was dealing with a mirror image for a soffit. This was on Amazon headquarters, and just one time as we're fabricating, I discovered what I had done, and I run down to the shop, and thank God, all the parts and pieces were cut the right size. It's just all the attachment points had been drilled incorrectly. But thankfully, all the clippage attachment points were above the ceiling line, so you would never see them, so it didn't matter. But oh, did I catch heck from the guys, though. They had to and then same with the glass. The glass wasn't, because it was a ceiling, it was all back painted, and I don't know, I just forgot. But in the nick of time, I realized I had ordered, and this glass were not square panels. It wasn't a square piece of glass, so it had to be painted on the correct side. But then I discovered I had ordered it all backwards, like I tried to build it backwards. And I called the factory. I say, oh my God, don't paint it, whatever you do. And it was on the paint line, and I stopped it just in the nick of time. They flipped it over and painted the correct side. Oh. So anyway, that's I can't blame AutoCAD for that. That's just not understanding how to understand the conversion from a ceiling plan to reality. K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Well, I've had some problems with Word, with documents as well. Not exactly sure why, but and I don't remember for sure about printing from them. It seems to me there's some unusual program that my computer spits out when it's printing something from a Word document, but I don't remember for sure. Anyway, glad your problem appears to be fixed there, Dave. Lee, yeah, I don't ever quote enhance that program there, or don't exchange it for an upgrade. That it sounds to me like you paid a whole lot more money than what they would let you get. Well, you'd have to pay a whole lot more money than what you got away with in order to get that same thing nowadays. So yeah, watch out for that. And going along with what Dick said, I appreciate having programs where they ask you before doing upgrades. I find that on some of my computers, I consistently check the boxes where it says, ask me before you upgrade, but somehow upgrades are always being accomplished. And then you go out there and your computer's messed up and you don't know what it is that made it screw up. So I have always tried to do upgrades one at a time, and then work the computer for a day or so and just make sure that it seems to work okay. That helps me go back to an earlier version if there's something that's not working properly. So good having a program there, Dick, where it asks you to do upgrades. Seems like I was going to say something else. I don't remember what. So, sorry. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
Let's go to James, WW7N.
We got 9 minutes at the top of the hour. That's interesting, Richard. I will have to look into that. How is a ceiling a mirror image? Left to right, or top to bottom, or are you looking down from heaven at the ceiling? Maybe you should elaborate on that. Oh, that's how it is. You're looking down from heaven on the ceiling. Okay, well, we'll have to get more education on that because I don't understand that, and that's the kind of thing that gets mounting holes put in the wrong place, isn't it? Of course, if I was doing it, I would make the mounting holes completely symmetric, so it wouldn't matter whether it was left to right, top to bottom, or up to down, or from heaven, or from hell. Looking at it, it would always fit. But there's probably a lot of things that has to do with Windows that wouldn't work that way. Well, let's see. What else is going on in my life? I really can't think of too much else to say other than I look forward to some cold, clear day walks here for the next few days and maybe even rip my shirt off in the 40-degree weather and get a dose of natural vitamin D. The lady in Hawaii tells me it's not the same thing as getting it out of a pill. She's probably right. But I tell you, it's a lot easier to get it in Hawaii when it's nice and warm and toasty than it is in my front yard when it's freezing house cold. Anyway, so let me go ahead and pass the baton around. Maybe we can make it one more time around. This is James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. Go ahead, Dave.
7N, oh yes. Software issues. I had an old version of Word many years ago. I was corresponding with somebody and they sent me back a Word document and I couldn't read it on the version that I had because it had some new documentation to the software that I didn't have with the original Word. But I just gave up on that and continued on using Word, and then finally got a new version of Word, and everything was copacetic, you might say. We could communicate back and forth and have the same symbols on the page that did the same thing. So that was kind of interesting. Sometimes got to update the software to survive. Anyway, this is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go back up to Lee, N7KC.
Okay, here we go once again. Lee, N7KC in Port Angeles. Well, you know, one of the really nice things that I found when I started using AutoCAD, especially when I was producing things for sale, you know, my company, most of the major manufacturers of subassembly things will supply you AutoCAD drawings, which you can just download and drop right in your drawing. So there's all kinds of drawing help that's available, and it saves a lot of time, you know, having to put that in yourself. So that's one of the very nice features of having kind of a common platform like that. Yeah, my $1,400 I spent for my 2014 version, and I'm not giving that up. You know, it runs just fine. I have it on disk, so it's never going to get clobbered. You know, of course I But it's like Richard said, every time that I fire it up, it makes a trip to the mothership to see that my license is in fact intact. I don't need a dongle or anything to plug in like that. It just runs, but it does check it every time. But they continue to, and I guess legally they don't really have much choice. I know they claim they own the software, and then I'm just sort of leasing it from them. But on the other hand, I did write them a healthy check back when I got it. So anyway, I like it. I do three views. I do a plan, right and left elevations, and that's all I need. Mine will do some 3D, you do stick figures and then fill them in and that sort of thing. It'll do that. I have no use for that, so I haven't spent any time at all learning to do it. So I just need that right, left elevation and the plan, and I can make sure that everything I make works when I produce it. I do nothing these days in the shop. If it's at least a bit complicated, if I don't do an AutoCAD drawing preceding that. Not only is it fun to do the drawing, extremely useful, and then dimensioning, if you've got a digital readout mills and lathes like I have, I never dimension a print. I just make the drawing of what I want, and then just go through it with the ruler and measure up what I want and so forth. Anyway, it's very, very quick and all that sort of stuff, and really come out with some nice stuff. Okay, I'm done here. This may well be my 73 round. So 73, it's been fun tonight, guys. Thanks a lot for the chat. Back to you, Dave, and 7KC, Port Ashland.
KC. Let's go to Kent, to Richard, K7ITX.
Okay, James, to answer your question on what I mean by a mirror view of the plan, and you were right in some respects. It is like, looking down from heaven. The only thing is, when you're looking down from heaven, you're looking at the unfinished backside of the ceiling. However, the dimensions would all still be the same if it's that style of construction. What I mean by is, if you could take how has it been? It's described as looking at. It's the same thing as if you were looking at the image, the reflection in a lake. I've heard it described that way, and so I guess if I would have been ignoring, maybe things that are backwards, like the dimensions or the labeling, but just the plan itself from the reflection of a lake, then I would be more used to it. But that isn't how they do it, and don't ask me why. So anyway, maybe I can research that a little bit more. It always bugged me because I just had to remember when I'm, trying to replicate the shop drawings from the architecturals. I had to force myself to remember that I'm looking at a mirror image of what it's supposed to really look like. And that's how I would always screw it up, because I might forget that little tidbit of information, because everything isn't the numbers aren't mirrored, the labeling isn't mirrored, but the drawing is. What can I say? Why? I'm not sure. Maybe you might have hit on something though. It's like looking down from heaven. That could be one of the reasons. I don't know. I have no idea. But that, again, would be the unfinished side. And so, maybe that would have been nicer for me, looking down from heaven, knowing that that's really how it's supposed to get built, and they would just have to have the labeling that I could read, not mirror image, and then they'd have to go out of their way to say, this is the unfinished side, this is the painted side, the viewing side is on the opposite side of what you're looking at. That's kind of what it really boils down to. So with that being said, 73 everybody, and I'll say K7ITX back to net control.
K7ITX, Richard, I guess it comes down to mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me who's the fairest of them all. But with that aside, it's time to terminate the net. It's 9 o'clock. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, we'd like to thank WW7STR, repeater belonging to the SeaTac Repeater Association, 147.08 with a tone of 103.5 for our voice transmissions. And we want to thank the association for that. This is Dave terminating the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all. This is KD7CYM, clear of the net.
KB7GZE. KC disconnected. K7GZE disconnected.
Bye.